I'm Adora Nwofor, and welcome to Living a Creative Life, a celebration of Calgarian artists who inspire us by living their most authentic lives. Today, we get crafty.
It's hard to do alone. You need a community. You get ideas and things from other people, materials from other people.
Make strides towards inclusive art spaces.
In the words of Deanna Bowen, I make art to avenge my ancestors.
And balance business with passion.
I feel like I've found my way, which has been really great.
This and more on Living a Creative Life. What is craft, and why should it be seen in the same light as traditional art? At a Calgary Creative Hub, we explore the importance of crafting with an expert in the handmade field. We are at C Space. How did you find yourself here?
So I work at the Alberta Craft Gallery in Calgary, but it has existed in Edmonton for 42 years. And when I knew that we were going to open a space here, I was like, I want to work here because not only was I a member, but this is my community that I live in. So that's how I started here. So I've been working here about 5.5 years. So the overarching is the Craft Council. So we do advocacy around craft and all around community development and everything else.
Why did the Alberta Craft Council need to be a thing?
So 42 years ago when it started, there was representation for drawing, paintings, photography, but there wasn't for fine craft. So we're all working towards advocacy, promotion, exhibition, helping people build production practices. And I don't really think there's a difference between craft and art and creating.
You're
I
right.
think it's all the same thing. Things that are made with craft materials often take way longer than something you would traditionally call art. So everybody's an artist. Anyone who makes things, I think, no matter at what level.
Now, I am seeing these very interesting creations here. Tell me how you have become a crafter or an artist and why this?
So I graduated from ACAD, or AU Arts now,
Yes.
in sculpture, and sculpture did not have the same kind of community, and I like to use all the different materials, and so I just use whatever materials are at hand. So these things are made from upholstery fabric samples, and so it's all upcycling materials and reusing them, and then I name everything so they all have names.
Oh.
So a name brings something, I don't know, to life. If you look at here, for example, they come out, they start like that as a fabric sample. They start like this, and once you add the eyes, then I stuff them with polyfill, and then once you do that, they sort of have a presence, and once I name them, they have a personality.
Ah, so you're really like putting energy into this to share with people. I want you to tell me why you feel like craft and art is important for our community.
I think it's about sharing, and I mean about community building as well. Like someone who's making ceramic cups, and then someone comes and buys their ceramic cup, and then you're drinking your coffee of something that somebody made, connects you back sort of through time and to clay itself, like back through the process. So it's not something that's fast that you just went to the Walmart and bought and check out and don't care about. It's something that you have a relationship like, and that builds I think a sense of community just within an object.
What advice do you have for somebody who feels like, okay, I don't have a degree, I don't have access to going to classes?
The Alberta Craft Council, that's what it's for. So we support students, we are a membered organization, so there's all sorts of opportunities to get involved, to apply to have your work in exhibitions, to apply to have it in the retail. There's a whole list of them. They're all on our website, which is albertacraft.ab.ca.
How does a nonprofit gallery that values experimental art and risk-taking projects foster community and support emerging artists? It might have something to do with the artists who run it. tell me, how is it that you got to Stride Gallery, and what is Stride Gallery?
Yeah, Stride Gallery is a non-for-profit arts organization. We're an artist-run center in downtown Mohkinstsis. I'm the assistant director, but before that, I was a board member right outside my undergrad from AU Arts. I'd say like as a First Nations, Métis, like transgender, two-spirit person, it's really hard to get ahead, get into these positions. So it was really important to have people who had a similar mindset to me in the arts, especially in artist-run centers localized to Calgary, that really brought me in. I was a drawing major at ACAD. Now I do video, I do performance, installation. So I guess I'm multidisciplinary. I come from a long line of like beaders, regalia makers, dancers, trappers, painters. So for me to like be a creative person is for me to continue on the legacy of creativity that wasn't really allowed for my family since the residential school started. So to be able to continue on that is the most important, that responsibility to my family. So I just want to keep creating.
Tell me why you believe Stride Gallery is a little bit different from typical galleries that you'll see within Calgary.
I think like the biggest thing is we made like a really firm decision on artists that we show, especially the ones that we support, and for the team that actually works here. We're all BIPOC, we're all racialized, and I think that's really important. We can really dig into these conversations of exactly how we need to support artists. We know more so the struggles that they go through and what they actually need. If you come in, we hope that we're a welcoming space enough for you to come in and talk to us. If you want to set up a visit with us, or just be like, can you take a look at my art really quickly? That's a really good way to connect. We promise we will have a meeting with you. It's just a matter of like coming in, talking. I think that meeting people where they are and respecting where you are is going to be the biggest thing, and making Stride more accessible in like all aspects, I think is like the biggest thing that we should be doing right now. So I think that'll be like a really important goal for us in the next few years. Like the representation is there. Okay, what about all of the accessibility from every aspect now? There is always more work to do, but it's really important work, and I think we're up for the challenge, so yeah.
What the heck is a surface designer, and why is it important to make time for our own personal endeavors? Answers to both questions can be found in an intimate studio at C-Space. Tell me, what is a surface designer?
My focus is on textile printing. So I design patterns for fabric and own a small boutique textile printing studio where we do short runs of printed fabric. And so I see myself as a surface designer who prints patterns for fabric. I started out in South Africa before immigrating to Canada and decided to go into the fiber program at the Alberta University of the Arts. Getting my hands dirty, being part of the process of mixing color, drawing and making the patterns myself, and then I had a baby. And that catapulted everything into writing a business plan, getting funding, building my printing table, getting the screens and everything before my daughter was born. I was so concerned about stepping back from creating and not getting back to it, which I had seen happen to a lot of creative moms, and I didn't want that to happen. So I just sort of put it into like hyperdrive and went straight into printing. I've found wonderful communities along the way. And then moving into C-Space was great because the building is open to the public, and I wanted to build community, and I wanted to teach workshops and do all of those sorts of things and educate my clients, but also the general community about what it was that I was trying to do, because it is such a niche that people often don't understand what it takes from beginning to end. And so creating this sort of educational component around that has been really great too.
I want to ask ask you, what is your self-expression through this? Sometimes creatives forget to create for themselves. So is that something that you do?
It's hard to take time for your own creative exploration when you are in the thick of running a business. But yeah, I think it's really important to make time for the creative process and the creative flow state too. Like, it doesn't happen all the time, so when you are in flow state, you need to really honor that and switch off the world. And I would say that that is probably some of the most rewarding time I spend in the studio, because there's no pressure. I allow myself to make mistakes, and those mistakes will lead to something spectacular, hopefully. I think the most important thing is to be open to play. I feel like you just need to be mindful of all of those things and acknowledge them as part of the process, the creative process too. Confidence is key, right? If you own it, nobody else is going to know the difference.
And that's just a glimpse at people and places that make this city so special. Thank you all for sharing. If you have a project, story, or example of living creatively, please share to submissions@calgaryartsdevelopment.com or post online with the hashtag YYCLCL. See you next time on Living a Creative Life.